So welcome everybody to another episode of Accounting for Old Cars, and you join me today with Bess, my 1971 Triumph Vitesse 2 litre convertible, on Drive It Day. So Drive It Day is a day usually on a Sunday in April, designated by the Federation of British Historic Vehicle Clubs. Takes a bit to say that. And the point of the day is to encourage classic car owners to get their cars out on the road to be seen by the public. Now, the real reason behind this is to promote the classic car industry, and it may surprise people who are not particularly aware of our hobby that it is worth somewhere over £5 billion to the UK economy annually. And there's something like about sort of 43,000 people employed in preserving, renovating, servicing old classic cars. And so there's this sort of significant industry which is kind of hidden really from the public view. And for most people, unless they go to a classic car show, they're never really exposed to these wonderful machines like the one you see behind me. But today I'm hoping that myself and a group of friends from the East Anglian Practical Classics car club will be able to put our cars out on the road and actually show the public exactly what it is there is to see in terms of classic cars, and the fact that they don't just get parked in fields but they move and drive. And to that end we're going to take quite a journey. So we're going to start in a little convoy from Saxmundham in Suffolk, driving all the way down past Colchester to Earl's Colne, to a wonderful little railway museum. So you'll join me in a little while when we're in the car and we're heading to this event. But I'll just sort of turn the camera around so you can kind of see where we are today. And it is the most glorious April Sunday. The weather this month has really done its best to make up for the dreadful winter that we've had this year. But I'm standing, as you can probably see, on what was one of the main runways at the RAF base at Framlingham, which was home to the 390th Bomb Group, an American heavy bomber group. And yeah, we've got Bess sort of parked in front of the control tower, and wonderful colours of we've got pasture, what I think I'm right in saying is winter wheat over there. It could be barley, but I think it's wheat. And then right in the distance, a streak of yellow, for anyone who's not familiar with British countryside, is oilseed rape. But it is 7:15, so a very, very quiet and serene start to the day, which is likely to be punctuated as soon as I fire up those 6 cylinders. But yeah, just give you a little walk around Bess. As you can see, she's been polished and prepared for today's event. As I'm walking around, I've just realised I missed a bit on one of the sills, but never mind. That's the joy of taking these old cars out. There's always more polishing to do later. And in fact, after I cleaned her yesterday, I left her outside on the driveway because I didn't want to put the covers on. And there has been such a lot of dew, so she's still a little bit damp this morning. Anyway, let's jump in the car and we'll go from there. So, one of the things I noticed when I was Googling the information about the £5 billion value of classic car industries to the UK economy was that the average age of people working within the industry, you know, so these are restorers, car repairers, mechanic services, upholsterers, etc., etc. The average age is 43, and this sort of resonated with me a little bit because about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the electronic ignition module on this car failed unexpectedly and suddenly, as these things do. And it happened literally just as I pulled the car off the driveway onto the road outside my house, ready to go off for a Sunday jaunt. And I couldn't get the car started. It seemed unlikely that it was the electronic ignition on account of it had only just been fitted. So I called the RAC. I've been a member of the RAC for a long time. Very nice guy turns up to have a look at the car, and he said to me, I've only been working as a mechanic, or I've only been trained since the year 2000. He said, I know nothing about points and condensers, and I don't really understand these electronic ignition aftermarket modules. He said, I spoke to my friend on the phone before I came, but I'm going to have to do a bit of guesswork here. And he very quickly diagnosed the problem was a failed coil. As it happened, I didn't have a spare coil with me. It was in the other car, which was parked elsewhere. So it took a couple of days, and I swapped out the coil, and of course it wasn't the coil at all, it was the electronic ignition module itself, which David Aspinall from Anglian Triumph Services very kindly drove all the way over from Ditchingham to my house in this part of Suffolk, and fitted a new one, doing about 10 minutes to fit, and we had a wonderful sort of chat over a cup of tea and biscuits, and that's interesting. See a lot of this with roadworks. I wonder what they're planning to dig up next. Anyway, long and the short of it was, yeah, the car was fine, but I reflected with David that, you know, the lack of experience among sort of young mechanics is going to have a real impact on owners like me, who frankly rely on experienced mechanics and motor engineers. And as some of the really good experts come up for retirement, it makes you wonder where all that knowledge is going. So I think it's really important that as a collective group, you know, we classic car owners do our very best to encourage younger people to get involved and become interested. So we've got a lovely little grouping which we're going to take in convoy down to Earl's Colne from here. So it's fabulous gold colour. I suppose this is what, 1996, 97 Volvo, and a beautiful metallic Spitfire 1500. Just have a little quick look at this one. That is a gorgeous example. And then we've got Ian's grand Citroen DS, and Peter's Rover P6 2200, and then obviously Tess. So you'll join me shortly as we set off. So I think today Peter, in the wonderful 2.2 Rover P6, is going to lead us. I have a real love of these P6s. I mean, I think it's true to say that I have a real love of all classic Rovers, but the P6 is such an iconic car from my childhood. And of course it sits right up there for me with the big Triumph saloons, the 2000 and the 2.2, sorry, the 2.5 PRs. See, the Rover has this wonderful de Dion rear suspension, and although there's a bit of body roll with it, the car handles beautifully in the bends, and I guess this is one of the reasons it was so popular with police forces during the 60s and 70s. Likewise, the car behind me, the Citroën DS, has its unique self-leveling suspension. Most cyclists are out in force today, and they must be having a great time, because it has felt like a very long wet winter, and I know this is the kind of weather that bikers really look forward to, and these are wonderful roads for motorcyclists, but the onus is on us as car drivers to just be that extra bit careful. This part of the A1120 takes us into mid Suffolk, and this really is one of my favourite drives. So further to my last video, when I was challenging some of these stereotypes around the county of Essex, welcome to Essex. We are back in that county across the border and on our way to Earl's Colne and the little railway there. And again, beautiful countryside here, and just this sort of wonderful rural rolling landscape. It's a sort of far cry from the towns like Basildon and Chelmsford, and it's worth just reminding everyone that you know, this is a beautiful and very rural county, as well as being a county synonymous with urban areas. So we're now in the wonderful village of Castle Hedingham in Essex, and this is such a pretty village. As you can see, the architecture here is really spectacular, and at the moment horsepower is being held up by horses. So there's a huge horse box in front of us, obviously off to some sort of equestrian event, as we make our way through. So pretty much at our destination now, which is the Colne Valley Steam Railway, and you can see we've got already so wonderful TR7, one of the best examples that I've seen. This one's been fitted with a V8 engine, from the look of it according to the badge, and just swing you round. You see the little diesel engine taking the railway. Coming back to this TR7, just have a look at this wonderful interior here. Sort of tartan upholstery, and yeah, these are cars that seem to have sort of come into their own in the last few years, and they've sort of gained in popularity, which is really wonderful to see. Again, we have this BMW 600 series shark nose, beautifully clean interior and wonderful lines. Possibly one of my favourite cars here. Next to that, the infamous Bentley Turbo R, sort of red label. Magnificent magnolia, Connolly hide. Just very striking motor car. And then next to that, of course, we have the MGB British Racing Green, Peter's P6 Rover 2.2 single carburettor, but it is no slouch, as we saw following it. Beautiful handling car, and obviously we've got Bess next to a base level model Ford Fiesta Poplar, again from about 1980, a real rare survivor, and just clean and unadorned, absolutely stunning. And then next to that we've got the Citroen DS Palace, sort of magic carpet ride car, and lined up against the E-Type Jaguar, you can see how important aerodynamics were at this period in car design. Sorry? Would you like a demo? I would love to have a demo. Memento, senor. Fantastic. So he's just going to give us a demonstration on. Yeah, what you're hearing is just the engine just struggling to get petrol through to the carburetors because they vaporise, and as they say, up she goes. That's just normal height. So she's now at normal ride height, but the party trick is this.
That's low for when you're changing a wheel.
Yep. So low setting to use the jack, and then for deep water setting they will swim or wade, and that is really something. I'm just going to come around the back here and see it from the back.
Should we do it again?
Because she is just that is amazing. So yeah, if you're able to bring her down, I can. From the back, it's more dramatic, I think, isn't it?
Well, it's got two intermediate heights for water and snow and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's one. That's two. That's normal.
And down she comes. Yeah, that is uniquely the only car that can do that here. And now we're in sort of, the Americans would call it lead sled mode, which is, yeah, that is really something. And I think the self-leveling technology was used by Rolls-Royce. And here she comes. And hence the magic carpet ride. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Of course, I could take one rear wheel off and drive around.
Yeah, I've seen that sort of trick on YouTube, which is yeah, fantastic. You have a car that saved de Gaulle's life.
Yeah.
But you can see the sort of slippery shapes of the Palace DS and the 4.2 Jaguar E-Type, and contrast those with, say, styling from the 1950s of, say, Triumph, and the unaerodynamic shape of the Vitesse. Yeah, fantastic. And then we've got a 1977 MGB, which has been debumpered. Nice looking car, this one. And then if I just spin the camera around, you can see we've got this little diesel shunting engine pushing the carriages back and forth. Absolutely great. I'll just bring you across and have a look at another one which we've got, which is just tucked down here, which is this wonderful early Mini. So this is a properly sorted Mini Cooper. Looks very much sort of prepped for rally, heated front windshield. And these fantastic spotlights. Rally spec harnesses. Great reversing light. And then, as we saw earlier, this ruby metallic red Triumph Spitfire from, again, I think about 78, 79. Beautifully done. Overdrive on this one, and yeah, really nice. And I guess for people who are a little younger, the V70 Volvo was an iconic piece of automotive design, sort of late 80s, 90s, and I noticed this one suggests that it's the all-wheel drive version, so serious bit of kit. I'm not sure if these were the ones that were used by the police in Britain, but you can perhaps tell me if you know. Possibly the fastest of the cars here, I don't know if this is the fastest or not, is the Porsche Carrera Cabriolet, just in front of us. And yeah, this is a beautiful example. And today being such a warm day, we really get to see the car at its best with the top down. Wonderful sort of gunmetal grey colour, which is very popular for cars of this era of the 1980s. I guess an alternative to the sort of typical Guards red. And again, a later Jaguar, which sort of in a sense echoes back to the lines of the E-Type. So beautiful colour, some metallic blue. Just wonderful. I guess this was a sight that would have been very common 60 years ago in UK. Morning.
Yeah. Good. So, I'm gonna have a look at that. I'm not taking it. Thing is, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, if he takes it
And these level crossing gates, so typical of what we'd have seen across England in the 1950s and 60s, before the sort of automation came in. Wonderful little signal box. I guess this is slightly unlike some of my other films, because we've arrived not to a car show, but to see an old railway. And this really is something a little bit special, hidden in the depths of the Essex countryside. It speaks of a time before Dr Beeching in the 1960s, when the whole of rural East Anglia was interlaced by these little branch lines that allowed for goods and people to be transported from one place to the other. Before, really, there was a reliance on motor cars. But yeah, I can hear that there's a train on the move, so we'll go and have a look. That is a proper diesel. What we'll do is we'll see if we can get up to the bridge and have a look down. We're talking about Royal Mail, and here we are. This is where the mail was transported and sorted. There's a whole sort of variety of rolling stock and locomotives here, sort of spanning a period, I suppose, of about 40 or 50 years, including what seems to me to look a little bit like the sort of more modern intercity locomotives right in the distance, but feels like it must be a never-ending task just to keep on top of the maintenance. Incidentally, I love the brake van, or as the Americans would have it, the caboose on the end of this one. But here we go, we've got this lovely little diesel shunting engine coming down. For people who are fans of the Reverend W. Awdry and his books Thomas the Tank Engine, there's this apocryphal line that one of the characters named Diesel says, which is, "We diesels are taking over," and all too true. And this was one of the first examples of diesel not just replacing steam, but you know, I think even up until the 1960s at stations in Suffolk like Newmarket, they were still using heavy horses to do the shunting. So that's a wonderful sound. Gloriously noisy and wonderfully smelly, intoxicating diesel fumes. She's beautiful. I think the driver's got a fantastic job there. It's quite literally a different world. Have a little look at some of the other things we can see. The railway carriage cottage, this is really significant. In my days as a valuer and estate agent, I came across probably half a dozen homesteads which had been created from these former turn of the 20th century railway carriages. There's a housing shortage after World War I, and Suffolk villages often had one or two homesteads made out of these railway carriages. They were sort of kind of like prefabricated homes, I guess, but relatively cheap to acquire, and there are still one or two survivors to this day. But in many ways, this idea of making homes from railway carriages has been supplanted by using shipping containers. Somehow this all feels a little bit more charming to me. You just see here, etched in the glass, it's reversed of course, it says smoking, and then we've got the lift up window of the carriage doors here, and then typical little wood burning or coal fueled range. Very, very simple living, but actually it's quite spacious, and I think providing you keep yourself warm, it feels like quite a nice place to be. I can imagine myself spending some time in a little cottage like this. Have another look at these livestock wagons. These things make me feel a little bit uneasy, actually. I may have said earlier that a lot of them were converted for stabling. When I was a kid, lots of farms had these where ponies and donkeys or goats were sort of kept in them. But in the world in which we live in at the moment, it's hard not to remember how these were used by Nazi Germany, and to think about what the cargo was that wagons like these carried. And for that reason, I always have slightly mixed feelings. One, nostalgia for these things being dotted around farms, but the other, this sort of darker meaning which somehow particularly resonates with me at the moment, given the state of the world. Just so I hope you've enjoyed this episode of County for Old Cars, or a County for Old Trains maybe today. I think what we've really seen is the importance of perhaps days like Drive It Day, getting cars out visible to the public so they understand the true value of the classic car industry to the UK economy. And in that way, looking backwards at this museum to see how quickly things like industrial automotive heritage can be lost just within a generation, and how these little museums are effectively what's left to commemorate this, and how, if we're not careful, the cars that we treasure could themselves become simply static museum pieces. So it's up to all of us as classic car owners and curators of automotive history to make sure that people still see these vehicles in operation, and that a new generation of enthusiasts are able to and want to own and drive them. Anyway, until next time, take care. Just wanted to show you this one. Wonderful 1966 Reliant Scimitar. So this is an SE4 GT designed by Ogle, fiberglass body shell, but beautiful, clean design, no over ornamentation, wonderful dashboard, sort of a bit like a fighter cockpit with all the toggle switches, and this is a 2.5 litre straight six. I'm just reading this at with triple SU carburetors. I'm not sure if it came standard with that, but one would have to say this thing must move. lovely cruising car with overdrive on 3rd and 4th, and yeah, this is stunning.